Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Anonymous, and here's his story. Hello, Ollie. It's been busy these days and picking up the pieces along the way. You've done a few videos about my narcissistic boss. I'm still working on another story about my childhood. This is Anonymous. He works in an auto repair shop. He has a boss that's aggressive, makes a lot of, covert gay references at him, is always pulling his dick out. It's like basically being married to this guy. It's like it's a jealousy thing. So let's hear the story. I'll finish it and send it out when I get a break from all things hectic. I really liked your one story, You're Fired. It was very on point. I've had to fire many customers, but I've had one that really stuck out. I was maybe 2 years into my job. This lady came in with a mid-90s Ford Taurus. She lived in a housing development down the street. She introduced herself as nice, but it neither looked nor felt real to me. First job I've done was a tune-up. Car ran fine after that, but she just didn't seem satisfied. Secondly, she needed her brake pads replaced, and because she the metal, she also needed, she grounded it to the metal. She also needed the rotors too, but she kept crying. She can't afford them. She can't afford them at that time, and just replaced the pads for now. So I did, and she came back a few days later, bitching that I fucked up her brakes because the pedal vibrated. I reminded her that the rotors she needed rotors in the first place, and I could remember if she got them used, they were not much better. The more work I've done for her, the worse she got. Yeah, exactly. She's one of these people, like, once you give them an inch, they never stop. Once you give in to the grievance, and this was always my issue working, this was always one of my big issues in meetings, working retail. Stop giving in to the customer. Stop giving in to the customer, because you give in once, and then they know they got you. That's not every customer. You got to take it by a case-by-case basis. But these customers like this, once you give in to them, it never, ever stops. And she wore brakes down to the rotors. So she either needed new rotors or have the rotors ground out. Obviously, she couldn't even have them ground out because they were probably that bad. Those mid-90s Tauruses, they didn't all even come with anti-lock brakes. Some of them still had disc brakes on them. Because I remember test driving Tauruses in the 90s, and they all didn't come with anti-lock at that time. So who knows what she was doing. And the grand finale was she needed a transmission put in because hers went out. Again, she acted really nice and civilized. I can't remember exactly what chain of events curtailed, but I'll describe everything best I can. Before I did the work, I made several inspections of the front suspension components. Both ball joints were well worn out, as were both outer tiered and the right front hub bearing, which had lots of play. I made this known to the boss as well. I did with her. And with her motor were broken, but again, all she could afford was to install the transmission. After finishing up the tie rods didn't have the cutter keys. We were short one. So I stuck a nail in one cutter key in the other. A few days later, she wanted to know what I charged to do front end work and indicated that she could get a better deal elsewhere plus an alignment. I told her she was better off going there. Exactly, that's what I always would say. Oh, well, Nordstrom does this, or it's like, go there. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Oh, awful. And about 3 hours later, she calls the shop, pitching 100 pitches, saying I fucked up her front end, and screaming manically about that nail she hitched at my boss, and he really came down on me, hollering about never using nails to stick in a front end and not having bigger ass bullshit done at his business. She brings the car back at me, and the boss both checked and found an old crinkled cutter key, and everything on the vehicle was still the same. She sends her niece to pick up the car. While the niece was on the phone with that woman, she then asks her niece to ask me what I was going to do about the bearing. It never stops. See, this is why you don't give in. You don't give in because it's always a scam. It's always a scam. I said not a thing. I told her in the first place it was bad. Then the receipts, and then the niece repeats what I said, kind of like I was a foreigner and she was an interpreter. Let me ask you this, Anonymous. You think she would have talked to you like that if you were white? You think she would have gone into white mechanics and talked to you like that? Nope. 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 And I know these two are probably black. I know they're black because I know pretty much where you live. They're targeting you. They're targeting you. They're doing this to you. Okay, not only because you're black, but they wouldn't do this to a white guy. I guarantee you that. But they're doing this because they even attempted it. And it's gone this far. It's because you gave in the first place. You don't budge with people like this because they don't stop. They don't stop. That day was a real shitstorm of epic proportions. My nerves were totally shot. I was really dog-tired, nervous train wreck. I didn't know how that day ended, and I lost $200. There were 2 more issues with that car. She had her boyfriend bring it the last 2 times. By phone, she spoke with me through him, and she spoke like she'd pay me, but then turned it around like that was my fault and got really nasty with it. I was done with her then, for good. The second time I refused him service, the boyfriend's vehicle needed work. I refused him also, so he left. But it didn't end there. Shortly after, the girlfriend also tried to pull a fast one with a mid-90s Ford Windstar. She had me charge her for front brakes, which she also wore to the metal. I drove it a few feet in the yard and noticed how weak the transmission was and the fluid was full. I picked her up in my own vehicle. Later that day, she tried to say I fucked up her transmission. It was never like that. Never did that before. I said, wrong, I never moved it. That she was outdone after that. Right. They just come in, bring in their vehicles, and blame you for breaking them so they can get free shit. A few months later, the transmission in that Taurus died again, but I was still done with her. Boss asked what was going on. I said I needed another transmission put in, and I'm never taking any more of her business. And he sheepishly said, get her money first. I said, hell no. I ran into her at the store. She said, you got to fix my car. Then said, just kidding. I know you don't want my money. And her girlfriend piped in, or mine, neither. And it still didn't end there. Yeah, because she knows. She knew the jig was up. I know you don't want my money because she knows what she's doing. She's basically telling you, I know you figured me out. She had gotten another vehicle a few years later, a Ford Escape. It had an overheating problem and no one could find it. I knew right away what it was, but I said I don't work on those and sent her down the street to the Mexican auto shop, and she left. But it still didn't end there. 5 years later, she came to me with that same Ford Escape. She came with her same boyfriend looking like a cardboard figure. I said yet again, I don't work on those. She had a condescending expression coupled with, how dare you? She acted like she wasn't going to leave. I repeated my same sentence. I thought I was going to have to give her some help to leave, but she left looking like a wounded snake. I really didn't know what narcissism was, but I saw she still had that same nasty way about her, but it still didn't end there yet. I ran into her a few nights later at my local mini mart with her entourage of flying monkeys, and she tried giving me a deadly glare, but I ignored her, and she said all loud, he's the worst mechanic I've ever had in my whole life, and that's the last time I saw her. I still won't take her work today. Sorry, this was longer than I thought. But I'll get back to the story I intended about my childhood. You'll probably wonder where the boss was in this encounters. He was out. He was always conveniently out. Right, he sacrificed you to her. He didn't want to deal with her, so he made you deal with her. I hope you can make sense of this story, and I'm not trying to over-explain myself, but you can't just make this up, Ollie. I'll send you another donation soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. Anonymous. Well, your mistake is you don't give in. You don't give in. And you should have fired her immediately, because it never stops. And I'm telling you, she never would have done it. She didn't pull it with the Mexicans, did she? Did she? So I'm right. You sent her to the Mexican shop. She didn't pull this with the Mexicans. Pulled it with you. Why? Pulled it with the black guy, and I'm sure she's black as well. That's why. That's why. She keep coming back to you because the Mexicans wouldn't fucking put up with her bullshit. Tell her to go fuck yourself, S.A. Tell your story, walk in. That's what they told her. This is more racial than you think, man. I promise you that. I promise you that. She wouldn't pull that with the Mexicans, and she wouldn't pull that with white mechanics. She didn't pull it with the Mexicans, so you know she ain't going to pull it with white mechanics. Pulled it with you, though. And still to this day, holds you to account. Why not go to the Mexicans? Because she'd rather bully you. That's why. So, hope that helps. Thank you again for another story and contribution, Anonymous. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you guys. Without you, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance.